There's little doubt that rapidly rising house prices are making it hard for many Australians to take their first steps into the property market. So far this year, only about 15% of new mortgages have gone to first home buyers, about half the level of 6 years ago. But first-time buyers haven't completely abandoned the market. They're just getting creative about how to get in. Pat McGrath reports.
Tom Milton is taking on a big risk to enter a tough market.
I've got an engineer here today drilling down, taking some soil samples.
Tom has gone deep into debt to develop this house in Melbourne's inner north.
Probably keep this either as a lounge or it could be a playroom for kids or something like that, but not changing the configuration too much.
Well, tell me you're going to keep the chandelier though.
Very tempting. Yeah, I love them, the fake plastic candles.
Beautiful, beautiful.
We'll see.
The plan is to split a 36-year-old family home into 2 units and build a third in the backyard.
My income wasn't high enough to be able to easily buy, the sort of house that I would ideally like. Probably I could have bought like a 1-bedroom apartment or something like that. And I thought I needed to get a little bit creative about how to have a house that I can afford that I actually want to live in.
Tom hopes to live in 1 unit and sell the other 2.
So my mortgage at the moment is $710,000. Yeah.
How big do you hope it will be at the end of this process though?
I'm hoping it'll be more like $350,000, which is much more manageable. And if I can end up with that sort of mortgage on like a 2-bedroom unit, that would be a great outcome for me.
It's an unconventional route to home ownership, but Tom is part of a rapidly growing breed of first home investors.
On the latest statistics, essentially nearly 1/2 of first-time buyers who are active in the market went into that investment sector. So that's a very significant movement.
According to Martin North's rolling survey of 26,000 households, the number of first home investors has risen from very low levels during the GFC to about 4,000 people each month.
There's no doubt in my mind that there is a very strong motivation to get into property. It's something which I think Australians have always had, but they can't necessarily go through the front door, but they still want to get into the market, and this investment route gives an alternative, if you like, a backdoor entry into the marketplace. They continue to live at home or with friends or family, paying rent. So rather than actually being an owner-occupier first and then moving into investment property later, they're going directly into the investment sectors. We are effectively becoming a nation of landlords.
Then we come out to here, which is dining room. Could be a secondary living room as well with a small table, so a little bit.
Buyer's advocate MIRIAM SANDKUHLER has noticed a shift in the kinds of investors seeking her advice.
I've seen a lot of people coming into the market buying their first property as an investment property rather than a home. I have a lot of clients applying that strategy at the moment. They're frequently in their mid-20s to early 30s, and they're usually working with budgets around the $300,000 to $700,000 mark. So for those with very little money, $300,000, they can still buy well, but they might need to look regionally to get a house rather than buying a 1-bedroom apartment within 10 kilometres of the city.
There's no shortage of voices telling Australians that now is a great time to buy.
You can borrow money, and that's readily affordable. More affordable than ever to borrow money for a first home now.
But Martin North is worried about how affordable mortgages will become when interest rates rise.
Even a 1% lift from where they currently are would move the total pool of those in mortgage stress from around 35% to close to 50%.
That's half of all mortgages at risk of default. But those concerns don't appear to be discouraging housing investment.
There's no question that there is enormous social pressure in Australia to own your own house, and you see that, amongst other things, reflected in the aspirations of younger households. They still have the same aspirations to own a house as in previous generations. The difference, of course, is that those aspirations are much less likely to be realised, and in particular are much less likely to be realised for lower income households.
Sam Edwards is preparing to take his first step into the property market.
I was lucky enough to make my full-time university studies work with full-time employment, and was lucky enough to save up at the same time.
He's willing to put up with the discomfort of living in a rented one-bedroom flat if it means he can buy an investment property.
I really enjoyed the peace of mind being away from my parents and living by myself.
Have you enough space to move around?
Always loved more space, but I think at the moment I do, yeah. I haven't seen the crane here before, so that's great, that's exciting.
Big step.
Yep.
Sam has just put a deposit on a $400,000 apartment in Canberra that's still being built.
I plan to access the first home buyers grant. I think I have to live in the property for at least 12 months before I can then rent it out to actually receive the proper entitlement. I also then plan to, if it's still available, to negative gear the property.
When Sam leases his investment property, he'll move back into another rented flat. He is staying positive about the investment, despite the gloomy talk of a bubble. Are you worried that this property, you could buy it and a year later it might not be worth what it was?
I mean, I am slightly worried, but I mean, the housing market does fluctuate every now and again, and I mean, there's always positives possibly in the future to come. And that's what I'm hoping for. And I guess that in order to invest in my future and in my family one day, that I'd like to have something like this.
When you look at what you've done, how risky is it?
I mean, I guess it is risky. There's no guarantees with this sort of thing. I don't know what's going to happen with interest rates. I don't know what's going to happen with the house values in this area and more generally in Australia. I mean, I certainly hope that the talk of a bubble is not a bubble that bursts, but maybe a swelling that goes down.
Pat McGrath reporting.